Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we currently have 37 live shows across the world. We are thrilled to have you join us today for this particular show, which is Books, Blogs, and Poetry. The star of our show, DIANN BOEHM, has the day off, so it will be myself and our fabulous guest who is joining us from the great state of Pennsylvania, which is where I spent a lot of my time. I have an affinity for Penn State University as well as Philadelphia. So Kim Lengling is also the consummate professional. Not only is she an author and a podcast host, but she's also a TV show host, and she focuses her time on hope. And isn't that something that we all need more of today? Let's welcome Kim to the program. Hello, Kim.
Hello, hello.
So nice to have you. And thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy yourself interviewing people and helping to create content. How's that experience been going for you?
You know, it's been quite a journey. I started it 3 years ago. And when the world changed, I always have to put that with drama. When the world changed, I found myself in a bit of a situation like many others around the world did, and I had to figure out and I had to change my path, my direction, and I decided to just blaze my own trail and work for myself and create my own thing. So I began with a podcast called Let Fear Bounce, and from that point forward, and I started writing more and more, and I've had some books published, and then the television show opportunity came up, so I interview authors on that show. But the whole premise of it is to let fear bounce, acknowledge that fear, and then kick it to the curb where it belongs, and then to spread hope. And I'm always saying I want to toss out nuggets of hope like confetti, and that's kind of what I do with all of my platforms and with my writing and just everything. You know, there's hope everywhere, and so many for so long have felt hopeless. And I've been there, and I'm more than, I might be there again someday. But when you feel that, you're in that dark spot and you're so in your bubble, you don't have these rational thoughts of, oh, well, if I reach out to someone to talk, that doesn't come to play sometimes for folks. And I found myself in a spot like that a while back. And when I came out of it, I realized all these people that had been reaching out at just the right time. Hindsight, of course, is 2020. But I realized that they were tossing nuggets of hope to me. And I need to do that. I need to practice more kindness with myself and then share it with others. And so that's kind of what I do in all of the platforms and everything that I do. I keep that word hope is always present. It just kind of hangs out on my shoulder, just reminding me, don't forget, spread hope today.
I love this story that you just shared. And of course, there was so much fear, so much panic, so much disillusionment, and people were just lost. I know myself, I was living in Cherry Hill, New Jersey in my apartment, and I didn't leave for 3 months. And I literally was terrified to even open the door. Everything was being delivered. And when I finally left in May, I looked around, I was like, what the heck was I doing? There's like a whole world here. But the point is, to what you just said, we can really talk ourselves down this road where we feel so isolated and so alone. And we need someone like you for us to feel like wow, there is something more. Someone does care. I'd love for you to share with our audience. It's not so simple to just wake up, start writing, start interviewing, and it also takes a toll emotionally if we let it. Can you share more about your experience?
You know, you hit the nail right on the head that I'm often told, Kim, you are such a dynamic host. You're always so full of energy and smile. I just love your energy. This was awesome. I'd love to come back again. And afterwards, I'm exhausted emotionally, and my energy level drops. And especially if I, and this is nothing against my guests. I have had amazing, beautiful people from all over the world on, you know, sharing in the collaborative books as well as on the podcast and the television show. They boost me up without knowing. They are my nugget of hope. Many times when I have just getting ready, you know, to click on there and click record, it very well could have been 10 minutes prior to that. I was like, all right, how am I supposed to like keep upbeat today? I just had this news. My mom's in ICU. I don't know if she's going to make it. And how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to be happy? You know, and you get that whole mental swirl is what I call it going on. And then I'm always, all right, Kim, pull up your big girl panties. Just pull them up. Got to keep on keeping on. And I'll hop on and I'll be like, oh, it's so nice to have you on the show. And without fail, that interaction, the human interaction of someone else sharing their journey and their story, maybe they were in this, you know, muck pit and they were able to crawl out of it a little dirty, maybe a little battered, a little worse for wear, but they still crawl out of it. And hearing their stories boosts me. I'm like, okay, Kim, this was the reminder. This is the reminder you needed today. That happens a lot more than people probably realize, because people are always like, Kim, you're so energetic. Oh, yay. And I am, and I try to be, but sometimes I have to pump my own self up. I have to give myself a pep talk. You know, like, come on, Kim, let's rock this day, you know? And sometimes that's all it takes. Literally talking to yourself out loud, because we're all amazing. We're all humans. We all have on this planet, we are humans on this planet, and we're all here for a purpose. And it's not to be living in depression or in a dark spot. It's not to live sad. It's not to live bitter or mad. We're here for a purpose, and we all have a purpose, whether that's writing or speaking or being a caregiver or a doctor or a nurse, EMT, whatever it is. We all have a purpose, and it's all for the greater good. Sprinkle kindness in there when you're doing it. So you're having a bad day. Yeah, I've been there, and I'll be there again. I know it. It's life. But when you have that, try to remember. Try to look outside yourself for just a second. And remember, there's someone else out there that's struggling right along with you. Right along with you. We just have to remember that.
I am so excited about what you share, because I feel like we are soul sisters on some level, because I'm also a caregiver and had all kinds of things happen before the shows. But you know what you just shared about your mom, that's so hard, and you have to put a smile on your face and have to make it so it's about the guest, and that really does take skill, and it can take a toll. But you are the ultimate professional, and you do give that space where people feel like they're the only one. And so I really applaud you for that. And I also applaud you for being really transparent and honest about what it is that happens behind the scenes, because I don't think people realize that you just put on a pair of false eyelashes and show up and smile, and that's not the case. So in your experience, and by the way, I hate to ask when I don't know the answer to the question, but how is your mom?
She's doing great. She's doing
Oh,
great. Yeah,
good.
it was a bumpy road, but she's 80 years old and she's still kicking, by golly.
What are some of the traits that you got from her?
Oh, what a great question. Great question. I got her tenacity. I got her stubbornness. I got her attitude. But I think the main thing I got from her is, you can get through anything. You can get through anything. And we've all been through stuff, and if you haven't, you will be. It's just life. But I think that's a lot of what I got from her is strength, I guess is the word I want to use, strength. Because she struggled and she still was able to raise 4 kids, and we all turned out, I like to think, we're relatively normal. And doing, we're all doing well in our own little realms that we live in. And strength, persistence, and a little audacity thrown in too.
I love it. I love it. We had a show on yesterday, and one of our panelists was talking about the fact that she was one of 13. And the whole reason we were talking about it was about multitasking. And she felt that women are really good at multitasking. And obviously, you're multitasking. What are your thoughts about being proficient and being at the top of your game when you are writing, you are doing podcasting, you are doing television? Do you feel that it is possible to embrace all of it and do it to the best of your ability? Because I think it is. What do you think?
I think it is because I'm doing it. But I do have those days, and I'll be transparent again, where it's like, I feel overwhelmed. What was I thinking taking all of this on? Why am I working on 2 books right now? And I have 3 podcasts I have to edit, and I have to record another television show. What was I thinking? I have those days where, you're just like, your brain's going, you know, but then I just, I have this thing with myself where I'm a sticky note person. I have sticky notes everywhere. And I'll be like, all right, Kim, clean the sticky note mess up. Pull one and focus. I tell myself, focus, grasshopper. Focus on this one. Get it done well, and then move on. My issue for me personally is I'll work on this, multitasking. I try to do, a little bit here, and I remembered something. Let me put this edit on that podcast. Ooh, I need to change that paragraph in that book. There are days where my mind's just like ding, 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 all over the place. And I'll be like, all right, Kim, focus. Just focus. Let's finish this one. I'm getting much better at that. But there are days when you have all that background noise going on, and I hope you understand what background noise means. I'm sure you do. When you have life going on back here, and then you're trying to focus on these things up here. I multitask constantly, but I do have my days where I feel, and I'm overwhelming myself. I'm doing it to myself. And I have to remind myself, Kim, just slow down for a second. Take a deep breath, in with the good, out with the bad, and just keep on keeping on. Focus, get this done, get it done well, and then move on. It's all going to work out.
I love the part of your answer where you said, yes, it's possible because I'm doing it. You're owning it. You're saying, yes, every day, this is what I'm doing. So I really appreciate that. And I would love for you to share a little bit about when you had a career prior to this. I was in corporate, and I was always told I'm an inch deep and a mile wide doing too many things. And then we get into owning our own business, and somehow it works. So I don't know. Why doesn't it work when you're working for somebody else?
Because we're building their dream and not our own.
Exactly.
And when I did the whole shift, because at the beginning of the pandemic, I lost my job. I was in corporate. I was a marketing development manager for a manufacturing company, and I was a road warrior. I was on the road all the time, going, visiting customers and doing my thing, and when the pandemic hit, the doors shut. And so there was no place to go. So, and I saw this coming, and it was an amicable thing, but I knew that, my position would be eliminated, and it was. I had not found myself in that position before at this season of my life. I was like, wow, this is not what I anticipated or planned on. And then I realized, you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of building everybody else's dream. I'm tired of working my tail off, hours and hours, overtime, traveling constantly. And all I get from it is weary. And I was starting to lose that sense of self-satisfaction for doing a job well done. And then when I was able to pick it apart, and I realized, oh, it's because I wasn't building anything for myself. And at this season in my life, I'm in my mid-50s. And as a side gig, I was writing and doing a few other things, knowing that that was what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. Well, the pandemic gave me that opportunity, just said, hey, here, I got you stuck in your house now. Now let's do something. So I had given myself a day to be angry, literally 24 hours, just be angry at the world. And I did it well. But after that, the second day, it's all right, Kim, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? And what is it that you really want to do? And so I took those three things and said, all right, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to write more, and we're going to roll with that and see what happens. And so from that second day after losing my job, I Googled, I researched, I did all kinds of stuff. And I said, and I have notebooks and notebooks of, all my scribblings of what can I do with this and how can I do that? Who can I reach out to and blah, 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 and I just rolled from there. And I'm really glad I did. I had never looked at it as, wow, all these years in corporate, I was just helping to build someone else's dream bigger and had completely put myself to the side. How depressing.
I have to applaud you for that. And one of the most profound things that you just said, which really resonated with me, is you gave yourself 24 hours to be angry. I think that's so key. Set a timeline to be sad, be depressed, whatever the situation is, and then pick up your chips and move on. And I think that's where people kind of get lost, because it starts to permeate through their everyday. They start feeling like lower and lower and lower. Well, you said no, 24 hours. Can you share with us, and then we're going to get into your writing, during those 24 hours, did you have like something like a boxing thing you were hitting, or like, did you yell into a pillow? Like, what did you do in those 24 hours to get it out of your system?
I live in the country, which is a good thing. And I do have a punching bag in my garage that my ex-husband left. And I've used it a lot. But yeah, I did that. And I'm out in the fields in the woods, walking my dog every day, all the time, because that's where I breathe. That's where I can breathe. And let's just say the trees and the birds, they heard a little bit from me that day. Because, you got to let that stuff out. If you just let that sit down in there and simmer, you're just going to make yourself sick with a headache, stomach ache, depression, whatever. So yeah, I let it out. The birds and the trees and the critters out there, they heard from me. But here's the thing. I live with PTSD due to sexual assault while in the military. And I have my toolbox that I have to pull out because I have my days. And there might be triggers coming at me from wherever, seemingly out of the blue. I have learned over the years to acknowledge them, grab onto them and say, you're not welcome here today, and pitch it away. But it's just part of my toolbox that I, mentally carry around, that I can pull things out and keep myself on an even keel. Don't let things overwhelm me. Don't let the small stuff overwhelm me, because there's an awful lot of little things in everybody's day that if you let it, by the end of the day, it's just a big old pile. Don't let it pile up. Keep your little shovel handy and get rid of that stuff during the day.
I love that with this shovel. First of all, thank you for your service. And second of all, I'm so horrified at what you had to go through. And I imagine that you have strength that people can't even imagine because of the fact that you survived that. So I thank you for being so honest and transparent and sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that your training in the military gave you strength that most people who are not in the military don't have?
Absolutely. It's a different world. It truly is a different world. And there might be veterans out there or someone who's currently serving watching or listening right now, and you know what I mean. It is a different world. The military life is completely different from civilian life. And I have found over the years that there are certain things that I do that I learned and were ingrained in me while in the military. And I'm very thankful for that. Truly, I'm very thankful. You go into the military one person and you come out another. And a lot of that is strength in character, uh, strength in mindset, all kinds of different things that you might not realize as you're going through it, because you're going through it. But when you find yourself in civilian life, and after you've been able to transition successfully, and that's difficult too, transitioning from military to civilian. But once you do, you find that you don't have tolerance for a lot of things that you might have just let slide before. You look at the world differently, and you have a much clearer vision of how you think things should be, good and bad, right and wrong, black and white. You look at the world differently, and that's probably the clearest way I can say it. And also, most veterans that I know are incredibly caring. They are the ones that are out there volunteering their time, giving their time, their resources, their space to help others. And that's something I've noticed so much over the years. I'm a huge veteran advocate, and I advocate for female veterans that have went through similar circumstances that I did, and even co-founded a nonprofit to help homeless or soon to be homeless veterans. So there is a mindset and a mind shift that stays with you when you come home, and you're able to, knowing that you've been there, you've been in that dark spot, and you've seen the darkness of the world in full action. You come home and you're like, I can't do darkness. So you do what you can to spread light and hope and help for others.
Wow, that's so deep and beautiful. And we have a team member here, Red O'Loughlin, who's also a veteran. I think he's one of the finest people that I've ever met. And he's loyal and dependable. He gets things done. There's something to be said about that. I'm going to connect the two of you. So I'd love to talk for the rest of our show about your writing and your writing journey. Where were you, and what were the first things you actually wrote down or typed?
I was asked in 2014, I was asked to share my story of living with PTSD. I was not prepared to do that, but something in my head kept saying, maybe it's time, Kim. Maybe it's time to let go of some of that, sludge you've been carrying around, because someone else out there might be sitting in the same spot that you are. So I was asked to share that in an anthology. So I had a chapter. I was a co-author in an anthology, and the book was called Inspire. And I was like, I don't feel like inspiring anybody. At that point in my life, nope, don't want to inspire anybody. I got nothing to give to anybody. And but the women that I was involved with, they were very, very encouraging and so open to listening. And I shared something that I hadn't shared in years. And they said, that's what you have to get out there. That's what you have to get down on paper. And I shared my story, and I kept it very general. I look back now, all these years later, and I read it, and I'm like, wow, you could have did so much better. But that was kind of the beginning of, actually, that was the first time I had been published in a book. But prior to that, I had been writing a local column for a newspaper, and it was for veteran issues. And I had just given a speech in front of 800 plus veterans for a large veteran event that we were having in my area. I had never spoken in public before, and I had never written before, but I wrote this speech, and it was 15 minutes. And if anybody's a public speaker out there, 15 minutes is a long time, and you can put a lot of words in there. So I was kind of nervous before I did that. I was practicing for weeks beforehand, and It was about a story of my grandfather, who was in my area the last surviving World War I veteran, and he was 103 years old. And so I wrote a speech about his time in World War I in France. And I shared that, and there were TV cameras. There was 800 plus people there. I had 2 TV cameras on each side, and I was like, what am I doing? But I gave that speech, and when I was done, it was total silence, over 800 people. And I thought, oh, I blew it. That must have really sucked. And then I realized it wasn't silent. There were people crying. And then you hear one clap, and then that slow clap thing, and then it just kind of roared. And I was completely overwhelmed. I get all teary-eyed thinking about it now, but I was completely overwhelmed. And after that, the local newspaper editor approached me and said, I'd love for you to write a column for the paper. And I said, I am not a writer. I am not a writer. I don't know how to write. And he said, who wrote your speech that you just gave, that everyone just roared about? And I said, well, I wrote it. And he goes, then you, my dear, are a writer. He goes, give it some thought. So that gentleman saw something in me that I did not see in myself. And for 14 years, I wrote a monthly column for that local newspaper on veteran issues. And that's really where the writing started.
Amazing. I was just imagining you in front of all of those people. And then afterwards, even though it was evident to everyone that you brought people to tears with what you shared, you still didn't feel like, I imagine you felt maybe like an imposter. You didn't feel like you were.
I just wanted to sink into a hole.
I think I just want to tap into that for a moment, because I think that happens to all of us at some point in time, where we feel like we're not worthy. And meanwhile, we just did it. Like you talked about in the beginning, multitasking, you're doing it every day. And yet there you are giving this speech, so emotional. What you're saying is so important. Someone sees you and says, hey, you are a writer. And you're still saying, who are you talking to me? So how did you take that and turn it around? Because I think that's important for people watching or listening who are going through something similar.
It was the people that I was involved with that were part of the anthology, because it was years later that I was published in that book as a co-author. It was those ladies that really gave me that little more of a push to think you could write your own stuff, share your own story or share other stories, whatever. You can actually write something, and you can even get it in a book, that just says Kim Lengling on it. And it was those women. They were a big part of it. I think their encouragement along the way, even on the days that I was like, this is horrible, I'm going to rewrite the whole thing. They're like, no, you're not. And it's not horrible, And when it first came back, the first time it was edited, I was like, yeah, I suck. Look at this. Look at all the markups. I had to learn to realize and embrace the fact that I love edits now. Edit, rip it apart. That's what I tell people. I tell my editor, rip it apart in a loving way. Rip it apart, because now every time, and since then, every time I find myself getting stuff edited, I learn something new every time. Because I didn't go to college. I went to the military. I didn't take writing courses. I don't have a degree or anything like that in writing. It just comes. It just comes. And I feel that I'm blessed that way. Am I like this fantastic writer? For me, no. I'm going to say no. But I know I'm learning and I'm getting better each time I do something. And to me, that's a win. And it's such a great feeling. And to me, the highest honor of writing something is when someone reads it and they might call you or text you or email you and say, that column that you had last week brought me to tears. Thank you so much for sharing. To me, that is the highest praise, because I want to write stuff that makes people feel, any of the emotions or all of the emotions, So when I sit now, as I've learned over the years, I try, if I find myself feeling stuck, I'll be like, Kim, all right, five senses. Let's go through them one by one. What do you see? What's it look like? What do you hear? What do you hear? Can you smell it? What's it smell like? What does it smell like? And when you're smelling that, what's it making you think of? Can you touch it? What's it feel like? Does it have a texture? So, taste. If that was something that you can eat, that coffee. Okay, so you see the swirl of the steam coming off of it, and you can smell it, and it just gives you that whole sense of, oh, morning. I love the smell of hazelnut coffee. Can't wait for that first sip. Cannot wait for that first sip. And then you take that first sip, and all of a sudden you're just like, bing, like it's a brand new day and I'm going to rock it. So I try and use all my five senses to turn anything into a little story. And that's what helps me. And I'm a work in progress. I learn something new every day about it. So yeah, my five senses, I pull that in a lot of the stuff that I write.
I love what you just shared about the highest honor, getting that reach out from somebody about how you touch them. And also, you're a great storyteller. I don't like coffee. I don't like the smell of coffee. But when I just heard you, I'm thinking maybe I should reevaluate that. Maybe it should be hazelnut coffee when my family comes to visit. So kudos to you. The writing community, the author community, I found as a fellow author, has been very welcoming. And it's not like when I was in corporate and people are trying to stab each other, they are stabbing each other in the back, sabotage each other. Authors seem to really promote one another. So what kind of feedback are you getting? I know you have some projects that are about to be released very soon. Have you shared them with fellow authors or had people read a chapter and give you some input?
The two that I have now, I have two in the works right now that are going to be released relatively close to each other. I have had a couple people read just, parts of it, chapters here and there. And the feedback has been great. They're like, oh, Kim, this is going to be awesome. Or, oh my gosh, Kim, you just pulled at my heartstrings, And so I'm excited about it. But then, the devil that perches on this shoulder sits there and says, are you sure it's good enough? Are people really going to want to read this? I have that. Everybody has that. But like you said, the author community, that whole writing community, I have found nothing but, a lot of compassion, and that's never competition. But I have so many people say, let's collaborate. And I love that. I love that because the world needs whatever it is you're writing. There's a reason that you're writing it. There's a reason that you're writing it. There's a reason you were given that idea. It's all part of the purpose that we're all here for. So if you've got this idea and you know in your heart that it's a good one and you're getting it down on paper, it might not be my thing. It might not be for me to read. It might not be what I need to read, but somebody out there needs to read it. So that's why I'm always saying, just write, just do it. Just do it. If you think you're horrible at it, ask someone else to read it. Ask for honest opinions. And I do strongly encourage to go outside of your friends and family. Go outside of your friends and family and ask people to read. I've asked former colleagues that I used to work with in corporate, I'd send them a chapter and say, can you read this and give me your honest feedback? Or I'll send it to another author that writes in a completely different genre. And they'll be like, this isn't my thing, but, hey, well done, Kim, because you got me there, So yeah, I agree. The author community is very welcoming and open, and I think helpful, and sincerely wants to help each other. That's why I tell folks, hey, send me a copy of your book. I'll take pictures of myself and pop it all over my social media and say, you have got to check this out. I love doing that stuff. I think it's great. And that's what we should be. We should all be doing that. I think it's what we're here for. Help each other up, boost each other up, and, hold a hand out if somebody needs a hand.
That's right. It's all about providing hope and making people realize that they're not alone, because I think that's what's so important. We have your website here, which I would love to share if you're open to that. And then we can talk specifically about the two book projects that are coming out, when people can find them, what you want people to take away from them. So can we start with the website?
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll share my screen. And here we are. So very nice picture of you, by the way. And I love the color green. It makes me feel, I don't know, safe and happy.
That's why I chose it. It's to me, greens and browns and like that mustard yellowy kind of, those are all very warm and comforting colors to me. So that's why I chose the colors.
Well, good job there. I love it. Where should I go on the website?
I think if you just scroll down, like those are the most recent Let Fear Bounce. That's the podcast. So each week they go up each Wednesday. So right there is, the most recent one that's up. Tomorrow, of course, will be a new one popping up there. So that's the easiest place actually to check out and listen into the newest podcast. And if you just keep scrolling, it just kind of rolls to the stuff I do.
I do have a question about this.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you interview authors. Is there somewhere that people can sign up, or do you have an interview form that you send them in advance? How does it work?
A lot of times lately, I've been having people reach out to me, which is kind of fun. But there is a contact at the bottom of the website. When you just scroll, there is a contact, and anybody can contact me and say, hey, I'm also on matchmaker.fm. That's a podcast platform where podcasters and potential guests can all get together. So I'm on that, matchmaker.fm. But I do have a contact page at the bottom of my website that you can contact me right through there.
Okay, let's just scroll down there quickly. There you go. Contact, get in touch. So
and see, there's my dog Dexter. He's my office manager, by the way.
Hi, Dexter. Such a cutie. I love it.
He keeps me on track, and he has his own Facebook page and everything. So yeah, he's my office manager. Yes.
He's doing
even
great
has his
work.
own bio on there.
Let's go back up to your books and then we'll scroll back down again.
Sure.
Okay. Here we are.
There we go. So during the pandemic, those 3 books that are called When Grace Found Me, I collaborated with a beautiful lady in the UK, and they're faith-based books, and they're all anthologies, and they're women from all over the world sharing their story of when Grace found them. And so those are faith-based books, and they were actually quite well received. And we got all of those books together and published all in 12 months.
Amazing. Wow.
Well, it was insane.
Talk about pressure. And I love the fact that you collaborated with someone from another part of the world. I really feel like the pandemic has given us access to people we never could have met or worked with before.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And in the books, there's 20 co-authors in each book. That just happens to be they're all women from all over the world. Many different countries are represented in there. And it really opened my eyes and the publisher's eyes in the UK. We were just like, you know what? It doesn't matter where we're from, the language that we speak, the color of our skin. We all go through the same stuff.
So true.
We're just humans. We're people doing the best that we can each day. And so what an amazing journey that was to work on and work with all those amazing women, and to finally get the books out there, because many of them had never been published before. And it was so cool for me to be the one. I was on the opposite side of the table saying, would you like to be a co-author in this book? To someone who had never written before, because I was there years ago.
Yeah. Yes.
And so it was so, it just filled my heart right up to be able to do that for others. And then When Hope Found Me, it's actually another anthology. People sharing their stories of when hope found them. And that was released last November. So I was really excited about that one. And there's some amazing, oh my goodness, some amazing stories. There's amazing people out there with so much to share, and you just got to let them share. People are put in your path for a reason. And I've had some beautiful, amazing souls put in my path over the last 3 years. Super blessed by it.
Kim, what I really take away from you is that you're someone that people want to just open up there. They find themselves telling you things that they had no idea they were going to be sharing. And then they just feel like a weight has been lifted, or maybe the light has been exposed to them and they have some clarity that they didn't have before.
I have found that to be the case. And even on my podcast, I've had numerous guests say, wow, I had no plan on sharing that. Or I had a couple of the gentlemen say, wow, that's a really good question. And I can't believe I answered it. So it's been, and I don't realize I'm doing that until someone points it out to me. But you know what? That's, to me, that's a gift then. It's a gift that someone might be carrying something and you're able to let them, if not let all of it go, chip some of it away, and maybe they feel a little bit better. On the flip side of that, I'm ridiculously empathetic, and I let a lot of the stuff land on me, and then I carry it for a day or two. And that's part where I have to pull my toolbox out and say, Kim, breathe. This isn't yours. You have to set this aside. This is not yours to carry. But I have found over the years, and I've had to work actually really hard to not carry others' burdens, because I have to leave room for myself to be able to breathe. But that, I'm a work in progress on that too. But it is humbling, truly humbling, if someone shares something that they weren't anticipating, and they're really making themselves incredibly vulnerable, because I know how that feels. And I will without fail say, thank you so much, because that was so vulnerable what you just did. But I can't imagine that it's not blessing someone who's hearing it right now. So thank you.
Just got chills when you said that. Is there anywhere else on the website that we should take people?
No, that's good to go. If anybody wants to get on there, they can just scroll on through themselves, take a little jaunt through the realm of Kim Lengling.
Perfect. So the two new books that are coming out, when are they coming out? Do you have titles that you can share? Anything you can tell our audience?
Well, I'm so excited about these books, actually. One of them is called Surprise, Nuggets of Hope.
Love it.
This is my proof copy. So this just came, and I was so excited. I'm like, okay, now it's time for me to start ripping it apart. But that, I hope to have that out by the end of summer. I truly hope to have this out by the end of summer, which is Nuggets of Hope. And the other one, which I'm a huge animal lover, love my dog. I've loved all my dogs. So the book that is coming out, hopefully the end of June, I'm really hoping, if everything aligns the right way, because there's been a few glitches, but that one's called Paw Prints on the Couch. And it's an anthology, but it's people sharing their stories of their pets and how they've enriched their lives and at times saved their lives, and just what pets do for us, and how it makes your day just a better day to have your goofy old dog around.
Kim, I am so happy for you. Would you like to read from one of those books before we close out?
Da, da, da. Well, let me pull up Nuggets of Hope, since I just happen to have it in my hand. Okay. And I just opened it up randomly. And here's a quote by James M. Barrie. Always be a little kinder than necessary. How simple that is. Always be a little kinder than necessary. So practical ways to be kinder to others. When we are kind to others, our world changes. We saw this already in benefits that you read in chapters before. I guess this wasn't the greatest thing to just open up to. You have started setting yourself up to recognize kindness opportunities wherever you go. And the more you act in kindness, the more you're going to notice chances to be kind. What makes it even more remarkable is how this eventually translates into your own life. Show your support to others. Choose a kind word for someone, and then pass that along. If someone is kind to you, pass it along. And always be mindful of your actions. and your words. Using a harsh word can feel like an arrow to the heart. Using a kind word can feel like you're landing on a soft pillow.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You
And
are
of course,
welcome.
we wish you all the success in the world with this one and the other one and everything that you do. And I could just think of so many more things I'd like to chat with you about. So I hope that you'll come back. We do have your contact information up. What's the best way for people to reach out, and who would you like to contact you?
Who would I like to, I am always thinking of different anthologies to put together, because I literally love doing that, bringing different people together and giving them an opportunity to get their story out there in an anthology. So through my contact page on my website, that's actually the easiest way. I get all of those emails. I see them right away, and just put in the subject line, interested in being a co-author. I have a few ideas percolating for, a couple more anthologies. So if you're interested in being a co-author, just say interested in being a co-author in the subject line, and then, shoot me a little bit about yourself. We can set up a time to chit chat if you want. But easiest, or if you just have questions about what I'm doing, about the podcast, the television show, what have you, just reach out through there. I'm willing to talk to people. I do it all the time.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed meeting you. And again, I hope you'll come back on some of our other shows. We will be rerunning this show again during the week. And also people can find it on our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV and Radio. Final word from Kim before we close out the show.
Be kind to others and be kind to yourself. Toss those little nuggets of hope out there, because you never know who needs it at the time. Just keep on tossing nuggets of hope, because you're an awesome person and you've got this.
There you go. Thank you so much again, Kim, for being here. And thank you, everyone. We'll be coming right back with our next show, which is Talking Heads, and our expert presenter, Caroline Hewer, joining us from London. Bye for now. Bye, everyone.